Savvy Business Radio, drawing out the best from our guests with our host, Christina Nichman.
Our guest today is John Assaraf, serial entrepreneur, brain researcher, and CEO of NeuroGym. In the last 25 years, John has grown 5 multi-million-dollar companies in real estate, internet software, brain research, and business consulting. Today he shares his latest insightful book, Innercise, the new science to unlock your brain's hidden power. Find out more about John Assaraf at his website at myneurogym.com and get a copy of his book at ignitemybrain.com. Hi, John. Welcome to Savvy Business Radio. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
We're doing even better now that you're here. You're going to share your wonderful new book. It's awesome. Innercise, right? Innercise, the new science to unlocking your brain's hidden power. Love that title.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, the obviously the opposite is exercise.
I know you kind of want to say exercise, but yeah.
And then the inner size is for your brain.
And what's awesome about that is, I've listened to a lot of people talk, you get started on this track with even exercise and you have this idea of what you want to do, but you don't accomplish it. And that's what your book goes through, because you can have this idea, whether it's, in your exercise, in your business, I have a goal of what I want to accomplish. And even if you're going to this event where you get all this training and sales or whatever, and you're, man, I'm so going to do this. And it doesn't happen, but it's all starting from here.
Yeah, I mean, everything happens in our brain, and the things that we do happens in our brain. The things we feel happens in our brain. The thing that we don't do happens in our brain. Where we accumulate information happens in our brain. Mm-hmm. Our fears, our emotions, our thoughts, our behaviors all start and end with something that's happening in our brain. Mm-hmm. But most people have never been given a user's manual to how to use it better. Mm-hmm. And with all of the latest research that's been going on for the last 20 years, but especially in the last 5, the things that we're discovering that can help us use the tool better are just life-changing.
Wow.
And so I've used it with my students for the last 10 years, and the results have just been nothing short of spectacular. So I wrote a book called Innercise, and it's a way to strengthen your mental and emotional neuromuscles.
And it's interesting. That's, I think, one thing that we don't give a lot of attention to. You hear that you got to eat better, you got to be physical and nutrition. Yeah. All important. Sure. But, often the brain doesn't get a lot of love up here, and the neuro part. We hear about so many people who, as they get older, they're not exercising that wonderful muscle. And sometimes if you don't use it, you end up losing it.
Well, absolutely. The brain is, a biological tool that works on, chemistry and electricity. Mm. And so if, number one, let's say we talk about food, you're not getting the right nutrients, then it's going to affect your brain. If you're not getting enough water, then you're going to affect the electrical activity. If you're not getting enough exercise, believe it or not, which is one of the best ways to keep your brain young and healthy, because it oxygenates it and creates a wonderful circulation of blood cells and oxygen, nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon, et cetera. Those are all great things, but there's also other things that we know about the brain. So, I like to give people a visual. So imagine, most people think of their brain as, like a unit of one. But what if you thought of your brain as an entire orchestra? And each orchestra player has a different role. And the more you can get the different orchestra players or musicians, playing together in synchronicity and in harmony, the better it sounds, the better it goes. Wow. And so your brain has got a lot of different, so-called musicians, within your brain. Mm-hmm. And the key is to get them all playing together so that you can achieve more of your life goals, business goals, health goals, financial goals, etc.
And is that what's happening when someone has a tremendous idea like, hey, I'm unhealthy, my heart is not doing so well, I want to get healthy, but they fall off the track? Is it because there's dissonance in the brain? Are the players not all working together?
That's exactly right. So there's a part of our brain. Let's call one part of our brain is Einstein. So Einstein can come up with all of these great ideas and hypotheses and use his imagination and his deductive reasoning, part of their brain that can say this or that. What about this? What about that? That's not good. This is good. I like this. I don't like this. So let's call that part of the brain Einstein. But there's another part of the brain called Frankenstein. And Frankenstein says, hey, you can't do this because last time you did this, you failed and you hurt yourself financially or emotionally. You were embarrassed. You were ashamed. You were ridiculed. You've seen your mother or you've seen your father try this and they failed so miserably it affected your life as a child. You should know better than that. So there's these two parts to our brain. There's many more, but these two parts have one of them has the foot on the gas saying, yeah, let's go, come on, let's go do this. But then you've got the other one with its foot on the brake going, no, be careful. And so unless you understand a little bit about how these automatic processes work and what to do about them, most people just have a lot of movement going on, but they're staying stationary and not really moving fast enough because of the foot on the gas and the foot on the brake. And so I've been fascinated with the brain and neuroscience and neuropsychology, but specifically as it relates to perceptions, behaviors, beliefs, habits, results. And so that's really what Innercise is all about, is how to unlock this amazing potential that we have within us through learning more about it, awareness, and then using some mental and emotional techniques to give us the power that we need to get through challenging times. And even to go after opportunities that we want to take advantage of.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you mentioned the Frankenstein, it sounds like the negative chatter I hear so much about that you're trying to get rid of, or we're told to get rid of, or try to get rid of, let pass and meditate and let those. Is it the negative chatter, or is it something trying to warn us against real danger? Is it something we need to listen to, or kind of say, hey, shut up, Frankenstein?
Well, you want to listen. Through awareness, but you want to learn how to be. Let me back up for just a moment. If you're 50 years old, let's just cut it off, let's say 50 years old.
Okay.
You've been awake for somewhere around 350,000 hours while your brain's been conditioned to think of certain things as dangerous, certain things as loving, caring, kind, happy. You've learned to be aware of certain people or circumstances or situations that could possibly cause you mental, emotional, physical, financial pain. So all of these references are in our brain's memory bank. And anytime we want to do something new or do something we've tried in the past, that maybe we have not achieved the success that we wanted to, and we got hurt mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, then this part of our brain percolates up this memory in the form of self-talk, in the form of self-criticism, in the form of danger signals to be aware. And so with 100 billion brain cells that are consistently activated, releasing the memories that are in those brain cells, the positive ones, the negative ones, the sensual ones, the ones that cause us fear, all of those are part of who we are. And when there's any real or potential danger, then our brain's memory, the Frankenstein part of brain, percolates up anything that is associated with what it is that we want to do. That is negative first. Why? Because the brain's operating system is safety first.
Protect the host,
Protect the host first. Then after you've taken a look at, is this real? Is this not? Do I know what I'm doing? Do I have the confidence? Do I have the strategy? Do I have the skill? Do I have the resources? Yes or no? Then you can say, okay, do I want to move forward or not? But what most people don't realize is the automatic negative thoughts, the little, critic that you hear talking in your head. It's a protective mechanism to keep you in your comfort zone, to conserve energy, and to protect you just in case. And when you realize that you are not your brain, you have a brain, But if you don't know how to use it, then it will use you. And so if you have a brain and its default way of working is negative first, positive after that, or positive first because you've thought about it, but then immediately after that, Frankenstein's going to get activated, go, hey, hold on a second here, and give you all the reasons why you can't or shouldn't. Then your job is to use higher cortical functions to go, is that true? Is that really what's going to happen? Or is that a possibility based on a past memory that I've read, seen, or even experienced? And so in Innercise, one of the first lessons we teach people is how to become more aware of the self-talk or maybe even the emotions without letting them control you, where you can observe them without judgment, shame, blame, or guilt or justification. And then you could say, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to move forward? Do I want to take action? Do I want to do more research? What do I want to do? So instead of operating in a reactive state all the time based on subconscious patterns and conditioning that exists in all of us, we can rise above those and make much smarter, more aligned decisions that will create coherence in the brain instead of dissonance.
Wow, this is tremendous, John. And this recalls for me, one of my greatest fears had been flying. And, you know,
No, you don't. You don't have a fear of flying.
I don't anymore.
I'll prove it to you in 1 second.
Yeah, I don't anymore, actually. But okay.
Well, but even when you thought you did, you didn't.
I didn't.
You had a fear of dying in a plane crash or a plane crash going down and you being hurt. You didn't have a fear of flying.
Yes,
you
had
a fear of what could possibly go wrong while I'm flying.
Right. Exactly.
Like, you didn't have a fear of getting a rash while you were flying, right? No. You had a fear of, if I'm flying and two planes crash or the plane hits somewhere and I get, handicapped, killed, whatever the case is, that was the fear.
Yes.
So anyway, I always like to share with people that the fear that they think they have is really not the fear.
Yeah, it's so true, because when you broke it down, the true thing was I felt that any plane that I get into is going to be the one that's going to go down, which is, when your logical brain takes over, you're like, well, that's not very likely because people fly every day and their planes aren't going down.
Right. And so that's a limiting belief. It's a belief that limited you, that triggered a fear center in your brain, even though logically you knew that that's probably not likely. So the question I would ask, for example, in your particular case is, who taught you that?
I don't recall, but I remember the time when I was like, I'm enough of this. I love to travel. So we're kicking it. We're going to go through it anyway. And here's the thing, interesting. When you were mentioning the fact that you observe the fear, when I took my first flying lesson and I went out to the airport, my brain was screaming Frankenstein, stop, run the opposite direction. Don't go near that plane. And then getting in the airplane, pre-flighting and getting in there, whatever. And then taking off. My brain was just screaming, get out of this plane. I even wanted to open up the door at altitude and jump out. That fear is telling you that. What's interesting is when I found for myself, when I observed it and, stopped trying to fight it. And here's the thing I was always doing when I would take a plane ride somewhere is I would resist it. Be like, and the more I kept pushing against it, the more I wanted, the more it took hold of me. And so my greatest lesson through that was learning that I made the fear bigger than it had to be. And the fear dissipated when I stopped resisting it. That was my lesson.
Whatever you resist persists. Right? Yeah. And so there's some techniques that somebody can use, whether they have self-doubt, whether they have a fear, whether they are uncertain or lacking confidence or lacking, the belief in themselves that they deserve it or they can. One of the first Innercises that I teach people in the book is called Take 6, Calm the Circuits. And Take 6, Calm the Circuits is whenever you have a fear, or whenever you have self-doubt or uncertainty, we know that the feeling is a result of something that's going on in the brain. And if the brain has kicked on its stress center or fear center, the neurochemical release is what causes us to feel the feeling we don't like. Okay. So the first thing to do is when you're feeling something that's unpleasant or not to your taste,
Mhm.
First thing you do is take 6, calm the circuits. Before anything else, you take 6, calm the circuits. And take 6, calm the circuits is a simple breathing exercise, or we call it an Innercise, where you breathe in through your nose slowly and take about 5-6 seconds. And then as you breathe out through your mouth, breathe out like you're blowing out through a straw.
Interesting.
So the very act of focusing on how you're breathing out and the fact that you're breathing in deeply deactivates the stress fear center in the brain. And with 6 to 9 or 10 breaths, less than 90 seconds, you can first and foremost deactivate the fear center. That's number one.
Awesome.
That means that you are now able to get blood flow back to your Einstein brain. And in the Einstein brain, you move to Innercise number 2, and it's called AYA, A-I-A. And AYA stands for awareness of my thoughts, feelings, sensations, and behaviors. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, and behaviors. And so you just become aware with no judgment, no blame, no shame, no guilt, just awareness. And then you ask yourself in the moment, what's my intention right this second? Well, my intention is to be focused. My intention is to be happy. My intention is to feel good. My intention is to do what it is I really want to do. Great. Well, what's one action step now that you can take? So A is for awareness. I is for intention. The next A is for action. But you only take one action step initially towards what you want to do. Not 20 things, not 10 things, one thing. And the reason for that is when you take one small action step, first you show your brain that there's nothing to fear here. You also lower the resistance of all of the potential things that could go wrong. And it's easy for your brain to say, okay, I could do one thing. And so when you breathe and deactivate the fear center, when you are in a state of awareness and intention and action, now you can interrupt a fear pattern or a self-doubting pattern or a lack of confidence pattern or a self-esteem pattern, any pattern that you want to interrupt. Those are the first 2 steps. And in the book, there's about 25 different Innercises that we teach people. But those are the first 2 steps to mastering emotions and mindset. And when you do that, then you become more empowered versus repeating patterns that drive your life.
Yeah. And it's important to keep the 2 together because both emotions and your logical part of the brain, you don't want to eliminate one or the other. They're both important to work together.
Yeah, I mean, which do you want to eliminate from the orchestra? The guitarist or the pianist? No, they work beautifully when they're working in harmony. And they don't work well if one's doing its own thing. And so just like every firefighter learns a sequence of what to do before they go into a burning building, just like every astronaut learns what to do if things go wrong, just like every police officer learns what to do. When you train yourself, when I feel this, here's what I do. When I think this and it's the critical voice, here's what I do. When I behave this way that is not empowering me, here's what I do. Most people, A, don't pay enough attention, but B, even if they are paying attention, they don't have enough skills in their tool chest of here's what to do. Most people don't know the difference between an emotion and a feeling. They don't know that their brain works by circuits turning on and circuits turning off. Motivation is a circuit that's fired, in the brain that causes dopamine to be released. Fear is a circuit in the brain that releases cortisol and epinephrine, which causes these feelings we don't like. But most people don't understand that, and they don't have the technique or the tool of what do I do if this happens. Right? So we know from driving a car, what to do in case of, a car in front of you slams on their brake. Well, good, you slam on your brake, you look left, right, you go to one of the other lanes if you can. But we haven't practiced. What do we do when our disempowering habits or destructive habits are ruining our chances for success? What do we do when we're in a constant state of negativity? What do we do? Wow. Or positivity, right? Positivity can hurt you as much as negativity can. So you need to learn how to have things in balance, in harmony.
Wow. So when you say some people don't know the difference between feelings and emotions, do the feelings lead to emotions?
No, emotions actually are triggered in the subconscious mind. That releases a neurochemical that we feel traveling through our body. So
Oh.
feeling
Uh-huh.
is the conscious awareness
Mhm.
of the vibration that the cells in my body are oscillating at. That's feeling or sensation.
Wow. Yeah.
But emotions, all emotions,
Mhm.
shame, guilt,
Mm.
love, fear, etc., is all activated at the subconscious level based on patterns that exist in the subconscious level that have meanings associated to either what we're thinking about
Mm.
or to anything external that's happening. They
Wow.
operate up to half a second before we're even aware of it.
Wow.
And that gives this neurochemical release that people go, oh, I really don't feel right. But people aren't paying attention. And they
Yeah.
don't understand that if you have a feeling you don't like, it's because of something that's happening either in your environment or inside your mind.
Wow, this is why it's so important to innercise and get a handle on what's really going on inside your noggin there. Now, I like that
Exactly.
I like that you mentioned the small steps, because I think one thing is people try to bite off more than they can chew, whether it's an exercise plan or build your business. They want to get out of the gate and do it all. And I like the fact that you mentioned the small steps, one action, because then when you're successful, I'm guessing you get that reward feeling inside, like, okay, this was successful. You're telling your brain it is possible. Now we can go for the second step.
Right. And what happens when most people, have this goal,
Mhm.
then they say, okay, let's do as much as I can. And they do as much as they can for day 1, day 2, day 3.
Yeah.
But they don't understand that they're actually working against the way their brain works.
Hmm.
So anytime we do something that is not part of our habitual way of doing something or thinking about something or feeling something, that causes the exact same thing that happens if a thermostat is set at, let's say, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and hot air comes into the room or cold air comes into the room. There's a sensor on the thermostat that says, hey, there's something that's in the room that's causing this cold air to come in. Turn on the heat to go higher. Or if there's cold air, hot air that comes in, it says turn on the air conditioner to go, to cool off the room. So we have these sensors in our brain that says, if you do too much too fast, that's out of your comfort zone. So
Mhm.
your brain says, oh, let me put the brakes on because you're using too much energy. If you make more than you normally make, you'll sabotage your success until you make about the same. And if you make less than you're used to making, you'll actually bust your little ass and do whatever it takes to get to what you're normally used to making. And what most people don't get is when you take really fast action,
Mhm.
your willpower muscle is usually what's being used in your persistence muscle.
Mm.
And we all have a certain number of attention units for our willpower in a day.
Mhm.
And what most people don't realize is if you just slowed down a little bit to develop the habit first,
Mm.
then the habit would drive your behavior without you even thinking about it. So you develop the habit first, then you increase the intensity over time. And since we're on this topic, one really important thing to know.
Mhm.
It takes between 66 days to 365 days to develop a new habit. Not,
Wow.
not 10, not 5, not 21. So for everybody who's watching who wants to make more money in their business, they want to make more money in their job, they want to lose weight and keep it off, they want to, whatever you want to.
Mhm.
If you don't commit to the behavioral change for at least, I'm going to say 100 days, don't even start. And
Wow. And
that's
here,
why
yeah, go.
And that's why so many people, New Year's Eve make these phenomenal resolutions, and they do it for, an hour to a week or 2 or 3, and then they revert back to all of their old behaviors. It's not because they're not smart or kind or loving or whatever. It's
Mhm.
because there's a part of the brain that regulates behavior, part of the
Mhm.
brain that regulates emotions, a part of the brain that regulates thoughts.
Mm.
And if you don't reset the regulator, that's called the striatum in the brain, where the habits are, then you're going to use willpower and persistence, and it just doesn't work for most people.
Mhm. So it seems to me like getting a handle on creating new habits is really
Yes.
getting in touch with what's going on inside.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's again there's a skill set that we can learn
Hmm.
that we are never taught on developing habits.
Hmm.
And I think they should be teaching it to kindergartners and to grade schoolers and high schoolers, so they can say, hey, I have a disempowering habit. Here's how I release it. I
Hmm.
have an empowering one. Here's how I accelerate it.
Hmm.
And so we all are creatures of habit. The brain's functionality is geared toward developing habits of anything that we repeat. So if we repeat a thought pattern enough, the brain says, I'll just make this automatic for you so you don't have to think about thinking about it. If you have an emotional pattern, positive, negative, or anywhere in between, long enough, your brain says, oh, you're doing this all the time. You keep getting angry when this happens. You keep getting sad when this happens. I'm just going to automate this for you. And then all of a sudden, you're a creature of habit. And some of your habits are going to empower you, and some of them will be disempowering. And so, the whole book, Innercise, is around understanding that you have the ability to be more in control than ever before.
Hmm.
And what I did with the book is not only create the Innercises, but for anybody who buys the book, I created 8 brain training audios and videos to go with it so they can get more educated and actually practice. With me as their, little, head coach, mindset coach, and emotional coach in their brain.
This is great because one of the things I hear when I talk to people that is so frustrating for them is they kind of feel they're on a train that's heading for a train wreck and that it's out of control and they can't stop it. And I think that's how it might feel, but you do have control. And it all started with our conversation here, getting in touch with your
Yeah.
brain, your inner side it. Mm-hmm.
Well, you can have control,
Mm-hmm.
but think about this. If you put a baby or a child in a car at 60 miles an hour, the car, it's possible to have control, but if they aren't skilled, then they're going to crash.
Yeah.
And so one of the keys is to understand that it takes a little bit of practice to first understand, like, what kind of control can I have? Well, a lot. Can I be, more focused? Yes. Can I let go of, disempowering thoughts or emotions? Yes. Can I let go of disempowering habits that are just not helping me in my life? Yes, you can. But if you don't know the process, then it's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube on your own without knowing the patterns you need to find. And there's kids who solve the Rubik's Cube in 15, 20 seconds because they know the pattern.
Yeah.
Once you have the pattern, you can do it. And if you practice it, it goes faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, it's like anything. Once you learn it, it's funny when you get started with something. I've heard this said, when you start a new job in the beginning, it's overwhelming. You feel really tired. It's like, woof. Once you learn it, it's just that. It's like you're on automatic. You don't even know how your hands got to the next screen or whatever. It's all like.
That's right. Yeah, and same with flying, right? When you take a look at the manuals you need to learn about flying, it's like all these instruments in flying and mathematics. You're just like, oh my God, there's a lot of stuff here. But after you learn the alphabet, then you can put words together. Then you can put sentences together and paragraphs, and that's how you build. There's building blocks, and that's how you do it. And the same with the brain. Once you understand, oh, I could increase my focus like this. Yep. I can release this emotion that doesn't, that I don't like this. Yeah. I can get more motivation in less than 5 seconds. Yeah. But you just need the techniques and the tools. And that's what the whole book's about.
Yep. And now they can get their very own tools. Where can they get Innercise?
The best place to do it is to go to igniteMyBrain.com. And the reason I'm sending people there is because if they go there and order from there, they'll still be able to order on Amazon or CO Read. But I have a whole bunch of bonuses now just because the book is out and it's brand new right now. And so I have a whole bunch of bonuses worth hundreds of dollars for people who buy the book right now.
That is fabulous. Well, John, I just have to thank you again for sharing your great wisdom today on Savvy Business Radio. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Savvy Business Radio broadcasts worldwide via a large podcast network, celebrating business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, and successful individuals. Find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest. Call 732-474-7375 or email Christina at SavvyBusinessRadio.com.